It's been about 11 months since Build 42 Unstable release, and with it, many changes to how guns work. I figure it's about time to review the state of guns and the aiming skill. There are 3 new features that have made their way into the game. First of all, you can target the zombie you want to target. In Build 41, it automatically targets the closest zombie in range. While this works 90% of the time, there are cases where you want to snipe a specific zombie rather than whichever one is closest. When aiming directly at a zombie, different limbs take different amounts of damage. Shooting heads is best, while shooting legs and arms is worse. Depending on where you shoot the zombie, it will react accordingly, often ragdolling. Headshots always knock them down, even if you have ragdolls turned off. So are guns currently good if we ignore any existing bugs? Yes, at fairly close ranges. Let's go a little deeper. Are handguns good? Yes. Are shotguns good? Kinda middling. I'm forever tainted by Build 41 shotguns. A new player may think they are great, while a veteran will not. Are rifles good? The semi-autos are fine, and bolt actions are better than in Build 41. You can push during the bolt operation animation between shots, which helps significantly. However, you can't cancel the reload by pushing, you gotta run or hit escape. Just remember, rifles are generally loud. Handguns, even the M9 you start with, will quickly become a zombie slaying machine if you invest in your aiming skill and follow the new rules of shooting. What are the new rules of shooting? Treat your gun like a melee weapon. Do whatever is necessary to avoid aim penalties and click heads. 2 of these rules disagree with each other, as zombies entering your personal space bubble generate panic. Beta blockers and sipping alcohol are good friends of Zomboid marksmen. If you obey the rules, the humble M9 you start with in your pocket will 1 or 2 shot most zombies. Aside from range and light levels, because it's hard to aim in a pitch black room, none of the aim penalties individually account for much at point blank range. It's when they stack that you start missing more shots than you land. I will point out, panic is a severe penalty if you're not point blank. Over 4% per tier. It's more than you gain per aiming level, for example. Zombies generate more panic in Build 42 than they do in Build 41, so it's easy to max panic early in your playthrough. If we go to the wiki, you'll notice most guns have a base 50% accuracy rate. Shotguns are more accurate, but you want to be further away to hit multiple zombies per shot, considering their primary feature is being able to hit multiple targets per shot. They are different mechanics-wise compared to other guns, so I will ignore them for now. If accuracy increases by 4% each level as shown, and it does, that leaves us with a 90% chance to hit at level 10 aiming at the base range. I've played enough XCOM to know a 90% chance to hit doesn't feel good. You will remember every single one of those 10% shots that miss, and getting to level 10 aiming is an epic feat. It's not something you can always do. You'll spend a lot of time at lower levels with less chance to hit. Except you will not know which shots hit or miss. After the initial flurry of Unstable release, players quickly realized they were missing a lot of shots, often at close range. I mean, look at that thing walking at me, menacingly. To solve this issue, the devs covered it with a fresh coat of paint. They switched to a chance to do damage system. In this new system, if you click on a zombie, or the game decides the bullet should have hit that zombie, it will always flinch as if your shot hit. Whether you do damage or not is based on the same chance to hit as before. Due to this, unless you are using mods or checking your aiming experience after every shot, there is no good way to know if your bullet did damage or not. The game no longer provides feedback that teaches you how to play it, which is why you will find plenty of clips of players shooting at medium range with several aim penalties stacked, and then complain about how little damage guns do. They have no clue they're missing most of their shots because the game hides it. This is the game's fault. It not only doesn't teach the player, but obscures what is actually happening. To stress how bad of a design choice this is, as far as I can tell, you cannot miss your shots in Build 42.12.3. I don't have backups of the other hotfixes to check when it occurred, but none of their patch notes mention making guns always hit. I scrolled through the bug reports forum and no one has reported the bug, even though it's at least 22 days old. I had noticed that zombies were dying without granting aiming XP. It only occurred to me why that was happening when I started recording background footage for this video. If you understand the new mechanics, you can take advantage of them by clicking on zombie heads when you know you will miss, as it will always make them fall down in a form of ranged stun, even if you're not pointing the gun at it. Well, only after they fixed the bug that was preventing it from detecting headshots if the head aligned with other body parts of that zombie. Anyway, what is the base range that 50% accuracy occurs at? Testing in-game using God mode to avoid any debuffs, at level 0 aiming, that 50% hit chance shows up around 5 tiles from a zombie. Any closer and you gain accuracy from the point blank bonus. Going farther has you losing accuracy from being too far away. The highest chance to hit I can get is 80% before it starts pistol whipping instead of shooting. Note that is at level 0 aiming with an M9. In this specific situation, the point blank bonus is a 30% increase. With my gun touching the zombie's forehead, individual penalties like max panic or moving while aiming only reduce accuracy by small amounts. There's some sort of scaling going on, otherwise max panic would almost erase the point blank bonus. I found this patch note from December that confirms it, but we don't trust patch notes around here. Like I said before, treat your gun like a melee weapon and you'll have a great time. On the other hand, they really need to reduce the accuracy drop off at distance. Trying to shoot beyond 4 tiles away, even at level 5 aiming, quickly becomes pointless as you'll miss more shots than not. Unless it's a shotgun. Shotguns start with a significantly higher base accuracy, which is needed since they can only hit multiple zombies per shot at a decent range, allowing for those pellets to spread out. This puts shotguns in a weird place. They have the highest chance to hit, but you want to hold off using that ammo until you have some aiming levels under your belt to bolster their chance to hit at medium range. Otherwise, you're only going to get 1 or 2 kills per shot at close ranges, likely entirely missing when trying longer ranges. This doesn't mean shotguns suck. For example, they're great at fence and window fighting since you can ball up a ton of zombies on the same tile to maximize kills per shot, no matter your skill level. The need to maximize ammo usage isn't required either. It's fine to blast one zombie at a time. In fact, it's the only reliable way to do so at distance when your aim level is low. Perfect for sniping a survivor zombie out of a group in the early days of your run. The saving grace of this situation is that shotguns are no longer optimal for leveling aiming, so you don't have to make the choice between wasting ammo early for XP or getting more kills with said ammo later. I recommend using any of the low-end handguns to level your aiming, as the amount of damage or kills you do does not increase your experience gain. It's a flat amount per shot that hits. You're also unlikely to have a hands-free light source to counteract the darkness penalty once the power goes out. A handgun with a flashlight may be your only option. You'll also know I did not split handguns into semi-auto and revolvers during the opening bit. That's kind of a history lesson at this point. In Build 41, semi-autos can jam. Even though I primarily use melee in Build 41, I'd carry a revolver on my hip just in case I needed to reliably cut down the zombie numbers while I'm doing something dumb. In multiplayer, a single shot could save your friend from being stun-locked into a horde, something melee can't do if you're too far away. Jamming during such a moment would be unfortunate. When Build 42 Unstable released, jams frequently occurred. To make it worse, racking your gun, which is supposed to clear the jam, sometimes would not. Rather than improve the jamming system mid-holiday, they decided to turn off jamming. It was a mid-December release after all. The important part here is that 11 months later, guns still don't jam. As such, shooting at super close ranges is not risky at all. In fact, it's primarily a benefit as you can then stomp any zombies that survives your first shot. Oh wait, you can't. At least not with ragdolls turned on. For some reason, you can't melee a zombie while it's ragdolling. Having to wait until it starts standing up to hit it kinda sucks. Sadly, the feature of zombies ragdolling when you shoot them messes with your ability to kill them. Turn it off and you can save ammo with a stomp here or there. Not that you really need to save ammo anymore. A prelooted police station is likely to still have a ton of ammo ripe for the picking. Basements and upper floors are also less disturbed by looters, which means hunter-themed basement spawns have lots of ammo too. I'm telling you that the primary cost of guns, ammo, is no longer a concern in default settings. You'll have more trouble finding the right gun to use up all that ammo than the ammo itself. There isn't much variety when it comes to vanilla guns, and even with loot doubled, some of them are fairly rare, only spawning in very specific places. Using guns has become a time cost thing. You spend a lot of time looting and loading guns, then blaze through killing zombies faster than a low-level melee skill. Melee is definitely faster overall, as you'll be fighting several times more zombies when using guns to clear. You ring the dinner bell every time you shoot, after all. In the moment, nothing beats popping 5 heads in a row at level 3 aiming. You just regret it later when 200 zombies show up. Some guns are better than others. The M9 is louder than the 1911, for example. It may not seem like much, but the area of a circle increases quadratically as you increase its radius. The difference in dinner bell effectiveness is surprising. Don't forget, you can pop off a shot or two to draw zombies away from your intended looting spot. It's not always about shooting every single zombie that shows up. This is very effective out in the boonies where it's one building with a couple hundred zombies in the middle of otherwise empty fields. Any loud noise works though. Early in the apocalypse, you can drive a car out into a field to honk a few times. a few months in, and there will be too many trees to do that with a car. Shotguns reign supreme as zombie manipulation tools because they are so loud and easily carried. The whistle and megaphone have their place too. So yeah, I think guns are in a great state if you ignore the fact they mostly operate as melee weapons that can miss, and the many bugs that will annoy you. Let's talk about targeting annoyances. You can't melee ragdolled zombies. I told you earlier to turn off ragdolls when shooting, but what happens after you shoot? You probably drive a car around, and with ragdolls turned off, zombies teleport instead of getting knocked over when you bump them at low speed. This means you have to remember to turn ragdolls on when driving, and off when shooting if you want the best experience possible. It's annoying. You know that targeting bug I talked about earlier? It still exists. You see, they fixed shooting the wrong limb on the same zombie, but it will still shoot a zombie behind the one you were aiming at. I find this pretty funny since a comment on my short pointed out that fixing the bug via giving heads priority wouldn't be the best way to fix it. They then hotfixed it via giving heads priority, and would you look at that? I can shoot the hand of a zombie behind the head I'm targeting. It makes shooting in certain directions annoying as the lead zombie never gets hit due to perspective and overlapping hitboxes. There are other issues too. The game automatically tries to push nearby zombies on the ground if you go to shoot a farther away one. Clicking heads always causes zombies to fall down. It happens often enough to get annoying. It's because of this setting. That being said, it should be stomping when it auto-targets a zombie on the ground, not pistol whipping. This targeting issue affects melee as well. In Build 41, the auto-targeting prefers targeting a standing zombie, even outside of your attack range, over a zombie on the ground. This behavior has disappeared in Build 42, which leads to bad outcomes when fighting with the automatic ground targeting turned on. You could get away with it in Build 41, but not in Build 42 so far. It will get your heart pumping when it eventually happens to you. As always, I recommend turning off this setting and manually ground targeting with a keybind. With the setting turned off, it will still do buggy things. Sometimes refusing to ground target or automatically ground targeting when you didn't press the button. The targeting system ever since the beginning of the Unstable has been funky, and there's no signs of the devs fixing things faster than they break. I'm guessing they'll only catch up once they run out of new stuff to add. The aiming system itself is pretty lackluster. The reticle confuses people because it doesn't represent what it normally does in the majority of games. It is not a representation of where projectiles can land. By default, it grows larger as your aim penalty increases, which makes it an odd visual representation of a percentage chance to hit. You should switch this to as your accuracy decreases in the settings. Using aim penalty as a reference point makes no sense, as your accuracy is the only important metric here. You want to know if you're going to hit, not that you have no penalties. That's right, there's no real projectiles being shot here aside from maybe with shotguns. They too can shoot behind you in illogical ways, so it's a tie at best. You may remember Lemmy, one of the founding members of Stone and lead developer, talking about their projectile-based goals earlier this year. They are still future goals. Right now, it's essentially a hitscan system, but the ray is being cast from the isometric camera instead of the gun's barrel or a first-person camera, which is how hitscan is normally used. If the ray hits a zombie, it then dice rolls your chance to hit. The closest comparison I can think of is combat in Morrowind or Daggerfall. Sure, you swung your weapon and it went through the enemy, but your skill level influences a dice roll that determines if you hit the enemy based on situational factors, tabletop game style. This leads to all sorts of weirdness. For example, being able to shoot zombies behind the player without turning around. There is some form of collision check to check for other targets blocking your shot, but it doesn't stop this kind of exploitative behavior as the game is only checking for what you clicked and if your shot is blocked. Not if you could reasonably land said shot without curving the bullet around 180 degrees first. It also tends to get screwy in chaotic combat as your character is automatically swinging around to aim at zombies to your sides if they get too close to the reticle without being under it. All sorts of animation weirdness can happen while landing shots on zombies you were not really aiming at, as the auto-targeting just decided you were. To be clear, the ability to shoot behind yourself is on purpose. The bullet does not shoot in the direction of the gun's barrel because they are aware of the animation issues. So what happens if a bullet hits a zombie you did not have the reticle over? It chooses a random limb to hit. Since legs and arms take reduced damage, the torso takes normal damage and headshots do extra damage, you end up in a situation where not directly aiming at the head does less damage than before, as it randomly chooses to shoot the arms and legs. This brings up controller support. Guns don't have controller support yet in Build 42 Unstable. One of the running themes of the Unstable is changing things around to better support controller users. It has all the hallmarks of AAA consolitis, taking away mouse and keyboard focused controls in favor of controller ones, while also locking controller players into a different but similar UI. If you want a great example of this, Path of Exile went down this path when porting to console, then backporting controller support to PC. One of the most controversial changes was forcing shadows on in a game that already ran poorly at the time. No one even knew it was caused by the console port. Years later, we found out the idea to do it came from one of the console port developers. Eventually, they improved the game's performance, but at what short-term cost? Community goodwill, of course. Hell, I made 2 videos in 2021 describing the advantages of controllers in Project Zomboid. Back then, you could swap between controller and mouse and keyboard on the fly. It was clearly the best way to play if unconventional and unpopular. This function, of course, got locked away around the time they supported the Steam Deck. You have to restart the game to turn off controller mode nowadays. Actually, I don't think you have to restart it, but it's the most obvious way to do it. Design decisions like pushing the players towards targeting only the head in an isometric perspective are bafflingly anti-controller. Controllers are horrible at this. Yeah, you can use mouse region type emulation to achieve that level of aiming, but it's not used very often for some reason. Probably one I'll never understand because I started primarily gaming on computers pretty early. Even the Steam Deck has a trackpad for mouse usage instead of using Steam's own mouse region support when playing PC games. The game was verified for Steam Deck in 2022 and had controller support for years before that. Yet here we are in 2025 and you still cannot check the controller key bindings in the menu on PC. Controllers can't use the forced ground attack keybind that I recommended everyone use earlier. They are completely screwed by the current targeting issues plaguing Melee and shooting with no recourse. The devs are right. Zomboid desperately needs proper controller support, but the way they are going about it is obtuse at best. Almost like team members are not communicating or even designing systems with the same goal in mind. Hopefully they surprise us with a level of competence we're not used to. It could happen. The Indie Stone has grown from a small team to a small studio over the last couple years, mostly hiring modders, but many big names have arrived on the team too. They cover it in their blog titled, "Since We Last Spoke." Honestly, growing pains explain a lot of the issues with the current unstable. It takes years for new developers to really get into their stride. That is assuming a stable workplace, not one that has seemingly tripled in size while having to combat technical debt. Moving on from that, I haven't really talked about the damage guns do. I don't think their current damage will be a long-term thing. They just added the 3x headshot bonus and it's clear clicking heads is way too easy, which means guns suddenly do triple the damage all the time. I've seen zombies in the default apocalypse setting with health between 70 to 370. The M9 does around 50 damage with a torso shot, which is the damage it always did before the headshot patch. Between crits and the headshot damage multiplier, you should kill most zombies in 1 or 2 hits. This doesn't account for missed shots. Now that you can't really tell if a shot missed or hit, that means it's more like 2 or 3 shots at level 0 aiming when shooting near point blank. It doesn't last long though, as by level 3 it's back up to 2 shots. You can also find skill books for aiming, which, while rare, will quickly boost you up to level 5. At level 5 aiming, you no longer receive the base bonus experience gain that everyone does for aiming. Going beyond it is a grind without the books. I'm talking about thousands of successful hits. That's right, you don't gain XP if you miss. If you have no starting bonus to aiming or the skill books on hand, leveling your aiming skill is hell. Don't get me wrong, you don't need aiming levels to blast heads at point blank, so keep shooting. Just don't expect it to level up as fast as melee skills. That wide swing in the amount of HP zombies have means it's very easy to make misleading clips. You can also spawn zombies with low HP via the debug menu. Just because you see a clip of someone one-shotting several zombies at long range with 0 aiming doesn't mean it will always happen. The same applies for it taking 10 plus shots to kill a single zombie. As usual, when it comes to the Project Zomboid community, expect a lot of misinfo. While most of it is accidental due to years of constant updates, some of it is malicious. I've noticed a spike of the latter when it comes to aiming guns, likely because players view it as a skill thing and want to show off. This video was researched and made in build 42.12 unstable, and its following hotfixes. I expect by the time they make it to a stable version with multiplayer, much of it will be out of date, and I too will be technically spreading misinfo by leaving it up. It could be out of date in a few days with the way Zomboid updates. It's happened to me before. Mind, I think it's important to leave behind the history of the game for others to enjoy in the future. Without posts and videos like this, it's hard to appreciate how far the game has come over the years. Thanks for watching.